podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This week on My Eerie, we talk to the Ospreys Wheelchair rugby team in detail about both their personal experiences and their journey as a club. We then look back on Wales' first win under Steve Tandy, ponder what must be going through Dave Redden's head, and wonder if Tandy himself is going to release Harry Deeves against the All Blacks. Stay tuned. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're welcome to the Ospreys Ari. We're joined by Grant and Josh as always. How are you boys doing?
All good. Brilliant. Zach.
Very good, thank you.
We are also joined by two members of the Ospreys Wheelchair rugby team today, in Aaran and Corey. Guys, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks.
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Cheers for coming on. Aaron, the club secretary of Wales Ospreys, how long have you been involved with the club in general?
Since September, should have been 4 years now.
They've been around for quite a few years now, haven't they, in the guise of Ospreys Wheelchair?
Yeah, so the club as a whole, if we go way, way, way back, we were the first club set up in Wales, and South Wales Pirates. My coaches who have been playing the sport for 35 years, they set their club up in Wales and kind of been running ever since. But then I think in around 2015, 2016-ish, around that time, then we came and partnered with Ospreys to become Ospreys Wheelchair Rugby.
I guess that leads us nicely on to how do you feel the Ospreys help you and support you as a club? What's it like to be part of the community and family in general?
It's been good. We've had our ups and downs over the years. It can, as a almost separate sport in some ways, it can be a bit tough for them to know what to do to help us. But over the past few years, we've been really building that relationship up, and it's been getting way better. One of the best examples this year, they've give us the license to have the same kit as them. So, we're playing wheelchair rugby in the same kit as the running team, and that's amazing because we look the same, and being on court in the same kit is really cool.
That's awesome. Fair play. Yeah, it says something takes a while to get there, but it's good we've got there now, isn't it? That's good.
I think like everything, it's some of the previous people in the club, it can be hard for give a bit of control and then take it back a bit. It's give and take like every relationship. So I think being a lot more open to them, working with them a lot more, being willing to, help them out where we need be, it's been good.
That's good. But the Ospreys are fundamentally about rugby. They have got these other pillars, and like I'm part of the supporters club committee, and yes, we're not part of the Ospreys. We're not managed by them. We're our own entity. That there's the wheelchair rugby team, there's Ospreys in the community, but it all just adds to the sort of the Osprelian feel, doesn't it? And the genuine should be a community feel about it all.
Yeah, and given those opportunities for disabled people to participate in sports like this, like I know stuff like walking rugby is a massive benefit as well. But wheelchair for those of us who can't be on our legs for too long or need aids to help is a massive benefit of having a outlet in a sports world, especially with the Ospreys brand under it.
I guess that leads us on to nicely just to ask Corey, how did you get into wheelchair rugby in general?
So my background is majority wheelchair basketball. Sorry, my light's gone off. Yeah, my background is majority wheelchair basketball. So I literally just kind of one of the guys I played with in basketball played rugby as well. So it was kind of just coming along there and kind of just went from there, really.
So, what do you find different when you first went your first session with the Ospreys Wheelchair Rugby? How different is it from the basketball approach and setup?
Yeah, it is obviously different because it's a very different sport, but a lot of it is interchangeable as well. So it wasn't as big of an adjustment as you probably expect it to be honest.
I've seen a wheelchair team play before down is in Swansea Leisure Centre, right? And
Yeah.
surely the one thing that's got to be different is the level of contact in basketball.
Yeah.
It's got to be less than some of the insane things I saw in the rugby game. Oh my god!
Yeah, that's one thing to adapt to, but it's not too bad. I'm enjoying the physical side of it more, I'd say.
And are the
Oh my God.
wheelchairs any different in the basketball compared to the rugby?
Yeah, they're a lot more like aerodynamic, so they're more built for speed instead of the obviously contact that rugby chairs are built for.
Oh, fair enough.
The level of contact I've seen is scary in terms of people, chairs flipping over, people shooting out. It's not for the faint-hearted, is it?
Certainly not.
Were you a rugby fan as well? You were an Ospreys fan? before
Me,
you got into
sorry.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've always followed rugby. My dad played for 20 odd years. He played down Bridgend Ravens. So we've always been in and around rugby. So I've always liked rugby, but never really knew until the last couple of years this was an option, really.
So how long have you been with the rugby team then? No.
So I've been with the Ospreys for a couple of months now. I played for another team for about a year before that. So still fairly newish to it.
Because one thing I'm trying to look at it from the outside is the fixture list seems rather sporadic and from the outside it looks random, but I'm sure there's an organisation in the chaos. So, Aaron, how tough is that in terms of like managing fixtures and just keeping the team together?
It's honestly not too bad. So the way our game works is we have our 5 season, which is our more open bracket, which is what Corey plays in, and then we have fours, which is the Paralympic version, which is you have to be classified a certain level of disabled to be able to play, which I play in as well as fives. So we have basically the summer months are kind of where we play fives, and we'll have about 3 tournaments where we will go away and play all the teams in our bracket in one day. We'll play them all and then go back and then month after do the same thing again and do that 3 times. And then same with the fours over the winter months. So it can look a bit chaotic, but there's some structure to there. And then whatever friendlies or extra tournaments are scheduled outside of those months, then we try and take up as much as we can.
So have you got any upcoming fixtures or tournaments?
Next weekend we have a fours tournament going on, and I think a few weeks back we had our fives nationals, which is the top 12 teams in the UK competing against each other.
Yeah, is that local or are you away?
Normally away. I think the closest we ever play is Worcester, and the furthest away we play is Sunderland.
Oh.
Yeah, the 8 hour drive is not fun.
Do you share any of the sort of like same bus facilities as the Ospreys or anything like that to get to these sort of away matches?
No, it's typically just people drive themselves up or have their support person drive them. It normally, because you have to take so many chairs with you as well, most people use a day chair as well as a competition chair. So having to transport all that is a nightmare. So typically it's left to the players to sort themselves out.
And in terms of the chairs, if someone wanted to get into wheelchair rugby, would the club be able to provide them with a chair when they arrive? Let's say they turn up for a session, or
Yeah, so we have a bunch of club chairs available. So those are kind of a bit more generic. So there's 2 chairs that we use in rugby. We have what we call our attack and defense chairs. Attack chairs have a rounded bumper for hitting into people and trying to slide off glancing blows. We have a defensive chair then with a basket on the front of it that's designed to pick somebody so they stop moving. So you can get into the wheel and stop the attack chairs or the defense chairs moving. So we have a bunch of those available, and then depending on your ability, so if you're more physically disabled, you typically go in a defense chair, and then if you're a bit more able, you go in an attack chair.
nice.
I saw on Facebook we're looking to get rid of some old scrapped chairs the other day.
Yeah, they take a hell of a beating. I've gotten chairs and they've gotten cracks within this first 6 months, and that's a brand new chair that I've just been putting through the paces, just because they get hit so hard, and we have quite a few people, including Corey in the club, who will hit you as hard as they can and send you flying.
How much do these chairs cost? If you don't mind?
My most recent one cost me about 8 grand.
Not exactly a cheap sport to get into.
No. Luckily, the club, Ospreys Wheelchair Rugby, helps fund custom chairs after the player's been in the club for a few years, just to help, because a custom chair is almost a bit more of like a next level fitting to your body in comparison to a club chair. But they are so expensive that you almost need help to get them funded, because otherwise you couldn't really do it by yourself.
And in terms of the fights, do you have any non-disabled players as well?
So training, we allow non-disabled to train with us, and a lot of them also volunteer then by helping put chairs by, helping to pump up tires and stuff like that. But competing wise, it is a disabled, as long as you can't play running rugby is kind of the bracket of the minimum. So we got, I know a few people who play the sport who've had like knee injuries, so can't run anymore. Maybe they have like arthritis in their legs or ankles, so they can't. So they would be our high pointers and fives, and they're more than welcome. We get quite a few double amputees and single amputees who play. So you have to have a form of a physical impairment. Doesn't have to be a disability. So if as long as you have something like that, you can play.
So how would someone, if someone's thinking about getting involved, what would they do to where do they go? Who do they contact?
So you can check our social medias out for probably all the contact information. That's going to be the easiest to me, listing out every way to get in touch. Ospreys Wheelchair Rugby on all social media platforms. Um, it's kind of, yeah, get in touch there. You'll probably be put through to me, and I'll send you the details. We train at Aaran Leisure Centre every Wednesday, 10:30 till 2:30. Um, but yeah, anyone's welcome to come down, even if you just want to watch, have a look, maybe chat to a few people. Maybe if you're not ready to get in a chair yet, it's more than fine. Or if you want to jump straight in and get battered around, you're more than welcome to.
I imagine it takes a braver man than me to get in a chair. I was watching some of the Rugby League World Cup, Wheelchair Rugby League World Cup a couple of years ago now, and some of the collisions were absolutely humongous.
And that's the weaker version of it. Those chairs are a lot lighter than our ones. Ours hit harder.
Have you got any decent injuries over the years?
Surprisingly, I haven't. I've injured my hands a few times, um, but nothing that would ever be like, oh, that's too bad. Hand injuries, shoulder injuries are the most common. Although I have had a teammate who broke their toe from contact from hitting into one of our big scary players. Hit so hard that he broke his foot, which was not fun.
Jeez.
One thing I saw after the game, I think I was playing Gloucester, I think, a couple of years back, was game had finished, and one player from each team then lined themselves up, became like a pair of knights jousting, and went just with everyone just sitting there watching and cheering them on. They just got flying into each other from about like 20 meters apart. You still do that?
No, most of the time, I think that was a one-off for them. A lot of the time, when we finish a game, we all line up against each other and just high-fiving and say good game and stuff like that. If people want to hit afterwards, that's up to them. A few people like to do it just for the fun of it, but we tend to avoid it just because, those are the ones that can cause injuries.
Yeah, it looked like it. Yeah.
Amy, I think this goes on quite nicely. What was your favourite moment playing for rugby team so far, Aaron?
Playing in the Principality Stadium was pretty cool. When the European Championships for wheelchair rugby happened in Wales about, I think it was 2023. We managed to convince them to let us host have the Welsh teams play against each other for a bit. So being able to compete in that stadium, which I never thought would be impossible in my entire life. From a kid, you go there to watch a game or two, and to think, I competed in the end to a crowd of like 2,000 people is insane.
That is awesome, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Corey, what's been your best moment?
That's a bit hard to follow up, to be fair, but I've only had one tournament for the Ospreys so far, but we in the semi-finals of that we ran one of the best teams in the country close. I think it was literally a one-try game. It was literally neck and neck the whole time. So to be able to play at that sort of level and show we can compete and belong there is great.
And what Corey won't tell you is he got the MVP award for that tournament. So, the most valued player from all the teams, was given to him. So he performed amazingly. He's been a massive help with the guys playing. He's got a lot of skill, especially from basketball, and it's been a massive value to the team having him.
Oh, sorry.
I think your best moment's been retcon there, Corey. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a pretty big journey for you in the last couple of months. Already MVP of the tournament, your first try. Where do you think you can go from here?
I don't really know, to be honest. I just keep working. The guys down with the Ospreys are helping me massively just develop coming over from basketball. Obviously, the skills are somewhat interchangeable, but there's still a lot to learn on that side of it.
There's a great reason why they call it violent chess. It's a surprisingly tactical game, even though the hits are hard.
It's almost as if it's the exact opposite of rugby, where off the ball is absolutely vital. That you're like knocking into people and holding on to people and doing anything you can to stop people from playing the game.
Yeah, to some extent, it's definitely one of those things of covering your man and making sure they're not available, hitting them as hard as you can so they're out of the game. But also then I look at parts of rugby's like line breaks and all this stuff that happens where you squeeze through people and you make that run for the try line. That happens so much in wheelchair rugby that the overlaps happen, even though they look like completely different sports. I feel like watching the both games, the core aspects of them are there, even if we use a different shaped ball. It's so similar yet so different.
With it being so tactical, do you do a lot of video analysis and that sort of thing?
Something we're trying to do more of now. We've been funding for cameras and like stuff like that to watch it more. I know me and my brother do a lot of video analysis of what we do while playing, just to improve ourselves. But I know as a team wide, I think it's something we should do a lot more of.
It's obviously been quite a big experience for you boys transitioning from. Does it help your confidence all going around everyday life?
Which one was going first? Me?
Yeah, you go for it, go on.
Massively. I was a very shy person beforehand. I would not go speak to anybody about anything because I was terrified. But I don't know. So when you suddenly start hitting into people and start making friends that way, I don't think there's anyone in the sport that I generally dislike, even if it's a rival team. After the game's over, we're all laughing, joking, high five. Everyone's great. You'll spend your time in between games chatting to the other team about, what's been going on in their lives, how's their weekends been, so it's such a friendly sport as well that it's kind of almost given me a bit more confidence to be social, which has been great.
Yeah, I mean, similarly to Aaron, really, I was a really shy kid growing up. I didn't really speak to many people in there, but obviously this, as well as basketball, has sort of helped me develop a load more confidence and ability to just. I mean, I think it's more help. It helps more the fact that you're socializing with people who have been through similar experiences to you as well. So obviously that can also help, not only just socially, but taking advice off people, dealing with stuff. So I think that's great as well.
I think something nice to end on. How do you think the community is going, and how would you encourage other people to come and join that community?
I think the community aspect is so important. So we are a competitive team. We have our competitive aspects, but then we still have players that come to training just for the fun of it. Being out of the house, being active in a sport that you can compete in, or being around other disabled people. able to give advice and take advice from people who have been through it already. We get a few people who are um, are new to disability. Maybe it's got progressed worse over the past few years or something like that, and they're now looking to try something. Um, and you get advice from the community aspect as well. People, when I first started using my day chair, the amount of advice I could take off, my coaches and other people in the club about what to do, how best to push, what's the stuff like that, was really helpful and made it a bit less scary being a disabled person in this world.
Lovely. I think we're going to move on in the pod now. We're going to go and look at some results from throughout the community. If Grant has them ready.
Yeah, give me a second. I'll share my screen so you can see them. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, over.
Okay. Before I kick off with the official results, okay. A lot of people are aware that Neath played a Fijian invitational side over the weekend to commemorate their 30 years since they played in the Knoll. It ended 62-38 to Neath. And peculiar fact, Neath's individual try scoring record in the match is 7 tries by Richard Smith back in 2009, 2010 against Kid Whaley. On the weekend, Kellen Davis could be said he equalled that tally because he scored 5 tries for Neath. And then in the second half, he swapped over and played for Fiji and scored another 2. So it was a fairly entertaining day of rugby there. There's a Ramage Fubars game as well, another mental health team playing against an Army Invitational team as well. So it looks like it was a good day out in the North for those who went. Moving on to league results. Championship West, Ammanford 29, 2021, Bonamine 27, Tarta Steel 24. Crymych 26, Trebanos 50. Great result for Trebanos away there. Dunvan 29, Gleneath 23. Kenfig Hill 42, Gasynan 7. So good home win for Kenfig Hill there. Moving on to League One West Central. Close game there. Skewin 26, Hale Q 24. League Two West Central, Puthcall 24, Mumbles 15. And the last result of the community games from this weekend, League 4 West Central, My Stake 24, Bonamine Athletic 17. So short and sweet this week.
Not too much community rugby, probably because a lot have been international weeks. Just it's always going to happen. You have to have a break every now and then. Let's move on to some news that we've had throughout the week. Big piece of news announced today, and that Ospreys and Swansea University have announced a new partnership which sees Wales's most successful region take on the planning operation of a men's rugby program at Swansea Uni, which after Swansea Uni haven't been doing particularly well in Bucks of late, I think is a welcome change. Any thoughts, guys?
But the thing that stands out for me is it's announced as a 3-year agreement, and that's given what's going on with the WRU in general, okay, it's a bold and positive move from the Ospreys and Swansea University to be able to announce this. So, it's the redevelopment of St Helens, as said, is part of the International Sports Science Park program. So again, it all seems like there's positive vibes, or we're doing our damnedest to put some positive vibes out there, which is it's about time really, because we've had enough doom and gloom. So I see this as really good news for the university, really good news for the Ospreys, and hopefully some good news for youngsters who think about going to university, want to continue a career playing rugby as well, or a career in rugby.
I was going to say at the end of the day, we've had plenty of pros come through Swansea Uni. I think one that immediately springs to mind is Max Nagy. Didn't play much before uni, came into uni, tore shit up, got a pro contract. It's been the rest is history.
Yeah. Same with Sutton and Will Griff as well, all Swansea Uni.
A big one, Sam Underhill. Might have seen him at the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And Don Brandt at Harlequins. I think with them going down to potentially 3 regions, I think they're going to want those regions to potentially be linked with universities, because I do think that's a big avenue to sort of bring in and develop players, especially with Swansea, Cardiff Met all being in Super Bucks. I do think it's a really good breeding ground. It's a high level of rugby. and it kind of bridges that gap between school and men's rugby really well. So yeah, I think we've done a good job in bringing players through that system, but I think if we can bring even more through, that'd be great, because I think a lot of boys don't necessarily want to go straight into pro rugby out of school. They maybe want an underlying qualification as well, improve their career prospects. So yeah, it should hopefully allow us to attract even more talent into the Ospreys region.
I think in other news about talent in the Ospreys region, Ben Warren has been called up to the Wales squad for New Zealand and South Africa games, which makes sense. He's probably at least Wales's third best tight head. And to be fair, he's not deserved it. He's been in excellent form so far this season.
I think Jack will be disappointed he's not on the show tonight, because he's been a real sort of flag bearer for Ben Warren, isn't he? In terms of saying, he's got a high ceiling. The boy can go a long way. He's come on leaps and bounds since he's arrived in the Ospreys. Compared to where he started. So yeah, fingers crossed. And again, it's not just fingers crossed. You look at the Welsh squad, and there's only going to be 2 tight heads there, and they're for the last game. So yeah, he's going to be on the bench.
So it'll be a big experience for him coming against either Thomas du Toit or whichever of the infinite amounts of South African tight heads we have.
Well, the good thing about the URC is he is exposed to them, isn't he?
Yeah. He was pretty good out in South Africa as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
All in all, as a congratulations to him. The other big piece of news, there's some smaller, more positive Ospreys stuff, some injury news. A big one being that Aaran Watkin is set to return within the next split of games, which is only going to be a boost. The other day, he was an excellent form before he did his ACL against France last season. I think it's a great piece of news for both Wales and the Ospreys that he's back. Do you think he slots right in, or do you think he has to try and earn his place over Cognizant and Keith at the moment?
For me, I think he's a vastly underrated player, not by anyone who's an Ospreys fan, because we know how good he is. I think just defensively, he's the best 13 in Wales, and he's probably one of the best in the UK in terms of defensively. So as good as Thognassinger has been, and he's shown a lot of flashy bits in attack that have looked really nice, if Owen Watkins fit, for me, he starts every time.
Yeah, he's got to prove himself, but it's not going to take him long to prove himself, is it? Probably.
Bye. Him and Keith are so used to playing with each other now. That partnership's really hard to break up for me.
Yeah, you look at where we've been with 13 there, where Boshoff established himself when he had the opportunity at a run of games. Cognizant, as a run of games, establishes himself, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, good God, we've got 13 was a bit of a concern when Owen Watkins is unfit, and now he's back. It's like, oh, we've generally got some good options at 13, and maybe Cognizant is fairly pacey, but he's got the ball skills to potentially move to 12 if required. And we know when Watkins can play a game at 12, can he? A direct game.
Yeah. I mean, Owen Watkins at 12 is one of my favourite types of players. He just seems so consistent and solid. He just makes it work.
Yeah.
Just like that glue between 10 and the back line is what you want. It's good news to have him back. There's also been Sam Parry and Ryan Crombie have also been spotted back in full training, which has just been really nice to have them back on a more permanent basis. Crombie has always been good for us while we've had him. It's also nice to know that he's still with the club and hasn't silently moved on like a lot of our signings last season.
Yeah,
and
so Sam Parry's real quality, isn't he? It's fantastic to have him back in the league again.
It's just the standards he's going to set and the leadership he shows from a pitch each time. And plus, you always know he's good for a try or two.
Yeah. From distance or hanging on to the back of a rolling wall?
Both, I've seen him run it in from the 22 at least twice.
It doesn't jump out to me. But yeah, he's great, isn't he? Fantastic. available again. And Combia, even after he joined us, and he's had periods out injured, and I think in his first month he's playing for us, he had Supporters Club Player of the Month. So it shows what impact he made when he's fit and available. So it gives us some options again, doesn't it, across the back three?
Yeah, as you say, I think it's similar to getting Watkin back. Without those players fit, you're kind of feeling a little bit tight. Like if Keelan's out or Dan Cassande's out, you're kind of a little bit worried about it. But with Combi back, it just gives us options. It means we can rotate more and hopefully pick up less injuries.
I say the player we probably missed most of the season when he has been out has been probably Keelan Giles. His kick chase. I don't think Luke Morgan is quite there. I do think Ryan Combi is a lot closer to Keelan, both from getting off the air and how strong he is nowadays. Plus, he's still got some out and out gas footwork to go with it. It's going to be great to have him back.
Yeah, bit of competition again, isn't it?
Yeah. The last piece of news for this week is WRU related, so feel free to wind yourself up. It was reported in Wales Online last week, or yesterday even, that after a new set of announcements of what they wanted from their clubs, or the WRU told the clubs what they want. They want them to have full control over the rugby playing aspect and still make 50% off of money of concessions or the profit of concessions off any owners, which I think, can I say for the entire pod, is absurd. Yeah. Of which the CEOs of all the clubs have been having meetings as of late, notably Dragons CEO and leadership group walked out in just 10 minutes, do we want to discuss this more about how incompetent the WRU are at being able to negotiate this very simple deal, or is it just more frustrations on either end of it? Same old, same old.
I'm trying to bite my tongue.
Don't do it, Grant. Speak your mind.
My hands are just welded together. If I ended up owning one of these clubs, okay, and I had to give away 50% of my profits and guarantee the profit would be 50 pence every year, and the rest of the money would be ploughed back into the club, into the facilities, into the community, and doing what's right with the money, not necessarily giving it to people who are potentially irresponsible with the money, who've got no track record of managing anything properly. I'll leave it there.
I think that's a great point, to be fair, because there's no way they can implement this with the franchise fee of, what's it, $1 million plus 50% of future profits if they don't think, without paying for the rugby playing side, these new clubs are going to be profitable. So they're assuming they're going to be profitable. But as you say, Grant, anyone who's going to want to invest in rugby, anyone who's smart, will just reinvest all their profits. They'll have a nil profit every year and W won't get a penny. But then you're still having to pay the £1 million franchise fee, which is... Yeah, I don't see why anyone who's currently invested in Welsh rugby, any of the current owners, would want to go into that model and have no control of the rugby playing side, because you can't be willing to spend millions of pounds every year unless you love rugby and love Welsh rugby and want to have your say and your input into it.
And willing to take on the CVC loans. So if there's only going to be 3 clubs, I still say if, because you never quite know what's going to happen going forward, then one club is wrapped up, who's gonna like absorb that debt then? So if the 4 existing entities don't bid and other people or new entities are created, who's going to take on the debt then? The WU could just accept it all, wouldn't they?
I just find it interesting that they still think they're going to be able to find an owner for Cardiff. Look at all the stipulations they're putting on it and how untangible they are as like partnership operators. It's just, who's going to come in and offer to buy Cardiff when you don't get anything for it? You get to give away half the profit you have. It's love. There's love of the game, and there's like, I love the game, but I'm not that stupid.
Blindly stupid. Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder where it'll end up with the commercial sort of terms which are being put forward. I can't see any of the clubs going for it.
I don't know who put it in place, and whose idea it was is clearly not going to go well. Classic WRU.
Aaran, Corey, you're more than welcome to chime in if you get any points of view on the WRU, unless you get any fantastic funding from them, that is.
We don't, so I'm happy to. Um, I'm not, massively invested in that side of the sport. I don't look at it that much, but from what everything I've heard is just I don't know how they expect everyone to keep going and if to be successful. If teams can't manage their own players, if teams can't bring in their own profits, what's the point in owning a team? Then they may as well just be all owned by the WIU and just let them do what they want with them.
If we let that happen, though, we know it's going to end up, it'll end up in a very dark place.
Yeah, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for 1 point. And I'm going to say I think they're trying to make it more like the Irish model, which has had limited success, at least in terms of Six Nations and especially domestically. Is it something we can copy going forward? I don't think so. I think it's short-sighted to see a model based on private schools and infinite amounts of funding going to 2 teams or 1.5 teams and think you can do that with what is at the end of the day a community game in Wales. It's a very different sort of class structure and how the 2 games are seen across both the countries.
Yeah,
I just feel it's a little short-sighted. If only to play devil's advocate and to try and see where they're coming from. I don't think. Is it replicable, or at the end of the day, is this just going to go down?
I don't think the Irish have got a national training centre where all the clubs are playing together, though. You might be looking at centrally contracted players in Ireland, and now WRU saying they want to centrally contract every player. I'm not sure whether that means every player right the way down to what's going on at a community level or not. But in terms of any development players, any SRC players, any elite players, that WRU got no track record of making anything like this work.
I think, yeah, from trying to see it from their point of view, which can be difficult, I can see how an outsider coming in would go, okay, what's Wales's USP? Well, most of its population is in South Wales, and it's within an hour and a half drive, most of the population. Can we put an essential training base where we can pool resources and get everyone coming to train in one place? I can see it from that side, but then that's coming from an outsider's point of view. I think if you understand Welsh rugby, you understand how tribal it is and how passionate people are about their specific area of Wales. That's exactly why it doesn't work, which is when you've got 3 English people at the top of the board, you can see why they don't necessarily see it from that point of view. And I can also see it because rugby clubs in general are terrible. They're not even investments. It's just spending your money because you're not going to get any return on your investment at all. You're just basically spending money every year because you're passionate about your club. So I can see why taking away the playing side and trying to make the clubs commercially profitable for a franchise and going, well, the WRU are going to take up a lot of the cost themselves might be another way of looking at the game. But personally, I'd need to see the underlying numbers to work out how profitable these clubs would be without having to pay player wages, which would be centralised by the WRU, according to the Wales Online article, and whether that would work as an outside franchisee. But I don't think any of the current investors would be interested in a model like that, and I think it would drive money out of the game. Is my worry.
I think it's fair to say it's short-sighted and will probably have reprehensible effects in the future. Let's move on then. Let's talk about maybe a glimpse of positivity. Wales have won their first game under Steve Tandy over the weekend, beating Japan 24-23 with a last-minute winning penalty from Jared Evans. I think it's fair to say it wasn't a vintage performance, but fair play to the boys. They got the job done in the end. Any stand-up performance music? Any stand-up performance? Really put their hand up, gents?
Alex Mann had some good reviews, and I think he played really well. I still don't think he's a 7, and when you look at how we failed to slow Japan down in any way whatsoever, or win hardly any, winning turnover ball. Yeah, he looks good, but we need to work out where he's going to play, because he looked lightweight when he was playing 6 the week before, and he doesn't look like a 7, but he's still a great player. So past that, I'm struggling for positives from the weekend.
Ben Eds took his stride pretty well.
Well, yeah. Again, if you watch the Ospreys regularly, you see him do this every now and again. He did almost exactly the same thing to Cardiff last year, didn't he? He just sidestepped his way from 10 yards out past far too many people. We should have called him.
I'm not going to complain. That first try did give me one of the best highs I've had watching Wales for a long time. I did give me far too much hope for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the game where we just seemed to slowly try and absorb Japan's attack.
Yeah.
The guys have had criticism for celebrating the way they did at the end of the game, and for me, it's like you can look around some of the older heads who just stand there looking relieved, and some of the younger boys celebrating because they haven't seen it before, have they? At that level, they just haven't seen wins. It's quite weird.
Most of those players have never won a game at home.
Yeah.
Half the squad wasn't capped before the 23 World Cup, and the last home game we won was against England in the World Cup warm-up. Before that, I'm pretty sure it was against Scotland. No, it would have been Argentina in 2022.
Yeah, I think people knocking us for celebrating maybe haven't appreciated that kind of our level now. If the Dan Bigger generation had beaten Japan like that and played like that, you'd be like, why are you celebrating? And they probably wouldn't celebrate.
To be fair, they did in 2017.
Well, yeah, they had Sam Davis and all the second choices played, to be fair, which is probably about our level at the moment. I'd say, that is a decent enough result for us for where we are. That is kind of where Welsh rugby is. Yeah, I was tearing my hair out watching the game. Really frustrating performance. I think it took Eddie Jones all of 1 week to work out Matt Sherratt's attack. Just basically pivoting off 10, giving the ball straight to Dan, straight into a pod, pulling out the back to Ben Thomas. Oh, brilliant. Okay, we'll just blitz the pod outside Dan then, because he's not running forward. He's not a threat because he's just standing and passing. So yeah, that attack, and everyone's saying, oh, the attack looks so great against Argentina. That for me is like a blank canvas. Argentina had nothing to analyse really, because this is a fresh Welsh team. This was a fresh Welsh attack. The first week where we've had an opposition who's actually been able to preview us, they've worked it out straight away, and our attack looks rudderless again. And I'm biased, and I will openly admit my bias, but the best 12 in Wales is Kieran Williams. And we're not going to be able to utilise him because of Matt Sherratt's game plan is not going to suit a Kieran Williams. And I do accept that. He's not a best ball playing 12, but he does give you gain line. And I think our performance would have looked a lot better on the weekend had we had Kieran Williams upside down and had we had Morgan Morse.
Or any front football at all, you mean?
Yeah, it would be nice, wouldn't it? Rather than just go 20 metres backwards, try and find an edge. Oh, we haven't found it. We'll come back. Reece Amit's kicked the ball away. Oh, brilliant. Japan have a run.
I'm going to take the one positive about that performance I can, and that's that the boys look like they're shitting themselves on the pitch going into it. There's clearly been a huge amount of pressure put on the game, and I think now that they've got through it, they can now move on and concentrate on themselves a bit more. They don't have the underlying fear of being third seed in the World Cup pool looming over them. They can now concentrate on themselves, the rest of the championship, and probably for Six Nations as well. I'm not expecting us to win again, probably until next summer, but I think it's a place we can at least move on from now. You've got the bogey off your chest. It's now time to move on and actually develop. We've won the must win game. Let's go figure out how to play.
The one thing good about it was I really like how Tandy is massively grounded. When he's been interviewed after the game, he's just saying, "Oh, how do you feel about that?" Well, it's just relief. Yeah, fair play to Jared Evans taking the points at the end. Balls of steel, etc. And he's just very straightforward about it all, wasn't he? No flower, no blaming players, nothing like that. He was just, we're on a journey. We're trying to work out where we're going. Yeah, we need to find our identity and tick. Are that all important result, isn't it, Zach? Oh, Jack, love him. He's not here. That boy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you can't underestimate how difficult a job Tandy's got, because he's got players who are unbelievably low on confidence, but also you got to hold them accountable, and it's like having that balance and knowing the individual and knowing which players you can sort of, say, look, these are your work-ons from the game, but also not, making sure they can go out and express themselves and not go into their shells because they're so nervous about making mistakes. He's got a really tough job on his hands, but I agree with you, Grant. I think, everything he's saying and everything he's doing has come across really well.
The more I hear from Tandy, the more I think he's probably the right man for the job.
Yeah.
He's a little bit different to a lot of the other things going on in the WRU right now, isn't
he? Yeah, he seems to, for a rarity, know what he's doing, which is something I've not said regarding WRU in the best part of a decade. I think it leads us nicely on to, obviously, New Zealand at home this week. You talk about crowds and whatnot. It's not sold out. It's nowhere near sold out for a New Zealand game, which is shocking. But do we think, is it going to be as bad as our fears? Is it going to be worse? Or is Harry Deeves going to push RD Severe 10 metres backwards on the first sight?
You've got to work out whether Tandy wants to just go into the game thinking, I just want to keep the score reasonable, or whether he's going to go, right, okay, how can I get a team out there where we can get a great performance? Doesn't matter about the result, but just thinking, right, you can go damage limitation and stick with a fairly conservative selection, or you can start making changes. And again, I've said it before, I don't think Tandy's one for making big changes, because he wants to try and develop identity and not almost like be shown to think that, you know what, that decision I made for the last game and the one before, they were wrong. I got it entirely wrong. I'm changing it. He's got a bit of faith in his own ability and his selection. How much of that selection is and how much is coming from people like Sherratt around him, I don't know. But knowing Tandy, he's going to have the final word on it. So I see potentially, again, minimal changes. As much as I'd like to see a few more, in reality, I think we'll have minimal changes for the game.
I think there's at least one bit of, I don't know if you'd put it as good news, but I think after the 2 weeks I've just watched, that there's going to be a shake-up in the back three. Josh Adams has been banned for 3 games following his red card on the weekend. That was announced while we've been recording, which reduced down to 2 after going through ruck school. We'll see how that affects next week afterwards. But it means that someone's going to have to come back into that back three. Do you think he brings in a Jacob Beetham, the fullback, and moves Murray to the wing, or just goes sort of Rio Dyer like for like?
Personally, I'd have a look at Jacob Beetham. I think he's got all the sort of raw ingredients to be an international fullback. I mean, just looking up how big he is now, he's pretty tall. Strong aerially, apparently got a massive boot on him. So for me, I'd like to see Beetham given a go at fullback. I know the All Blacks probably isn't the game to be trying these players out, but I would say that I'd potentially play some of the players who don't have the international baggage that some of the other lads do, because I'd worry if we go a few scores down the lads with the more baggage could completely implode. So I wouldn't mind seeing a Deves at 7 who's not going to care who he's up against. He's not going to see Ardy Surveyor and think, oh no, it's Ardy. He does not care. He does not care. He will show no respect, and he'll just fly in. I'd 100% play Deves at 7. I'd potentially look at mixing up the centre partnership. I do agree with Grant that I don't necessarily think he will. I think he might go consistency, but if it was up to me, I'd potentially look at, a Hawkins and a Hennessy potentially. Again, Hennessy hasn't got the international baggage. I think he's got a really high ceiling. And I think Max Llewellyn and Ben Thomas have had plenty of chances to show what they can do. And I'd potentially even bring in Morse as well. Obviously, that's difficult because you can't really drop Mann and Cracknell after their last performance. They're probably two Wales' better players, but I'd at least bring Morse onto the bench. I just feel like he brings a lot more impact than Plumtree. I'd feel a lot more confident seeing a Morse run on the field later on in the game than I would necessarily a Plumtree. And I'd also potentially bring in Rhys Davis as well. Again, not as much like baggage internationally, and I just think he loves smashing boys. He absolutely loves putting in the shot. So again, he's not going to have any respect for the New Zealand players. He's just going to fly in, and I think that's exactly what we need. So if it was up to me, I think we'd make changes.
Rhys Davis starting straight into the starting lineup.
I think I would. I think Adam Beard's taken a lot of stick, which I don't necessarily agree with because he made one carry against Japan, but that to me also shows that that's exactly what you'd want. I don't want Adam Beard carrying. I'd prefer him as the inside option off those pods of 3, so he's hitting the rock and he's not necessarily the carrying option. But I also watched him a bit in defence, and I think he was quite passive in his tackling. So for me, I would potentially bring in Rhys Davis to partner Daft Jenkins this week.
Because Dav Jenkins is massively athletic. He's around the pitch like an absolute banshee. He's everywhere. He's not necessarily making dominant tackles, but he's all. So I think you if you're playing Dav Jenkins, you've got to have a big aggressive guy alongside him. And Adams takes the big bit, doesn't he? And Rhys takes out the aggressive bit and the big bit. Yeah. I think he's about fending the reckoning. Sorry, he's about fending maybe the reckoning and form at the moment.
Yeah. I guess the other thing you need to consider a little bit is, do you try and get some sort of combinations that you're going to have for the South Africa game next week? Because if you go for Beard and Jenkins, I guess the concern is they're both gone next week and you haven't tested out a line out against South Africa, who are pretty got some big lads in that line out. So, would you say you'd try and have combinations who are going to be there next week, or would you just almost look at that as a one-off game?
Or even a sprinkling of players who are going to have to play the week after, even if it's not wholesale changes of the pair of sec. Well, obviously both second rows need to go, don't they? But in terms of, you've got to have an outside centre, haven't you, for the game after?
Yeah. So do you play Joe Roberts this week, knowing that he's going to be available next week, maybe?
That doesn't go with the Tandy mentality of there's my original squad, but I'll bring extra guys in to support.
Yeah.
But Cracker's made it onto the bench and then started the week after. So
yeah, true. Yeah,
my theory out the window.
I think the consensus is that we're unsure about team selection. I do like the balance of Josh's team a lot better than what we had at the weekend, especially across the back row. Like Alex Mann, Harry Deves, and Ollie Cracknell just seems really balanced.
Yeah.
And so you've got your big old school bruiser, you've got your light athletic 6, and you've got Harry Deves who's just doing infinite amounts of work. Lets them sort of play their own games. I bring in Rhys Davis, just adds a bit more balance and ability to carry, and will help scrum time. Just a bigger body behind your tight head. I do like bringing Jacob Beetham in as well. Jacob Beetham to me is almost like a pound shot Geordie Barrett.
That's not a bad shout. I don't mind that as a shout. Yeah.
Well, right now, though, okay, I take that.
Like, you know what? I think there's a player in him, and I think exposing him to international rugby is not going to be a bad thing. He's already stepped up and he's played. I remember watching his debut. I think it was. Remember when Cardiff played Toulouse in the Champions Cup, but Cardiff didn't have any of their players because they had COVID. So you ended up with sort of Jason Tovey and Dan Fish starting on the wing in 2022. I'm pretty sure Jacob Beetham made his debut against a Toulouse side with Anton Dupont, Roman Intermac, and all the big flashy names, Thibaut Flamand. And still looks pretty good. Got sent off at the end for smashing someone a little bit too hard as an 18-year-old, which, you know what, fair play.
At least you know after that, it doesn't get any tougher than that. That's it.
I say he played basically France already, also for him against the All Blacks.
Exactly.
So, is there any other? I guess there's one last thing for this weekend, and I'm not going to do a score prediction because 50 plus only goes so far. But something funny that's going to happen against New Zealand, Grant.
Oh, I'd rather predict the score than think of anything funny from this game. I was going to say a draw. Yeah, that'll be the funny thing. It would be a draw. Yeah.
No. Josh, anything funny?
Yeah, I think Deves will sit down Ardie Savea.
What, on the pitch or off the pitch?
Essentially both. You'll beat him in the darts afterwards as well.
Yeah.
Corey, Aaron, anything funny you think is going to happen over the weekend?
To be honest, I'm not sure. Yeah, hopefully we just do a bit better, be a bit more consistent. But if that happens, that'd be great. But I don't think, hopefully with the pressure off, we just play a bit better. Just because don't have to win it, just show that we can do the basics right.
Fair enough. Thank you, gents, for joining us. Either way, it's been a pleasure to have you on. It's been a pleasure to learn about the Ospreys Wheelchair Club. Hopefully, come see a couple of games with you next time I'm in and around the area, if and when. Once that's good. Thank you, Grant and Josh, for joining us as always. I think we should be back next week. Usual timings, usual place. Don't know what we'll talk about. We'll talk about something later with rugby. Even until then, if you have enjoyed, please drop a like or subscribe to the channel on your podcast chat platform of choice. I think, unless there's anything else waning, that'll be us for this week. Thank you. Good night.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.